and welcome to episode 8 of the Woldenburn Podcast. My name is Emily, and I am so glad that you are here joining me today. I have a little bit of a general, I guess, kind of life update, introduction, podcast upgrades, if you will, section here at the beginning that I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to jump right into some knitting and sewing and acquisitions content. So let's just dive right into it. First off, I might be a little puffy, and Micah said that I have a little bit of bruising around here. I had my wisdom teeth removed this week, so I feel like I'm far less puffy and funny looking in my face than I have been for most of this week. I've had like no jawline, which has looked a little bit silly, to be honest. But so if my face looks a little bit funny, that's why. And I can't see any bruising, but Micah said he saw some bruising, so just wanted to point that out. And it also is a good kind of I don't know, I guess also I've got, if you see this on my arm, it's just from the tape where the IV was in my arm. It's a good kind of, I guess, segue into some of the introduction thing that I wanted to talk about. So this week, while I have been recovering, and I am still recovering from having my wisdom teeth removed, I have been laid out on the couch downstairs, just basically doing nothing all day, but catching up and watching a bunch of knitting podcasts and the Nickelodeon Avatar animated series. I've seen it before, but I've been rewatching it. It's on Netflix, and it's really fun and chill to watch when you're sick. I have been good for pretty much nothing else. I couldn't read. I couldn't sit up for prolonged periods of time. I still can't stand up for prolonged periods of time because I get very dizzy and lightheaded, and the medicine that I was on would make me so sleepy that I just could not keep my eyes open. And this is the first day that I've actually felt more like a normal human being again. I actually did my hair and whatnot, which was super nice. I didn't take a shower for like 4 or 5 days and just felt like dirty and awful and ugh. And so yesterday I finally was feeling well enough that I could stand up long enough to take a shower. So yeah, it's been a week. But I'm actually really glad because it was kind of a period of forced rest, if you will. I've just had to take it easy, and it was really nice because I was able to catch up on a bunch of podcasts, knitting podcasts, YouTube podcasts that I've wanted to, and I also found a few new to me ones that I've really, really enjoyed watching and new ones to subscribe to and whatnot. And one of the things that I realized throughout this week of watching all of these podcasts is how much I kind of miss that sense of community and being a part of the knitting community online. And I realized that I really want to go back to that really simple, straightforward way of doing knitting podcasts. And I guess in my case it's a knitting sewing podcast because I do a lot of sewing. I haven't done a lot of sewing recently here in the past few months, but I have not had any sewing mojo. It's just not been there. I have a lot of sewing projects that I want to make, so I'm hoping that it'll kind of creep back as we enter into the colder months. And I've had some adjustments with my job recently. I was going to quit my full-time job, but then the opportunity opened up for me to be able to start working part-time, so I'm very excited about that. I'm going to be working there part-time 4 days a week. It's going to be amazing. It's going to give me a lot more free time, and hopefully that will boost my creative energy and just overall energy. So I'm hoping my sewing mojo will kind of come back. But I realized that I really want to start filming regular knitting and sewing podcasts again. So I know I've done a few episodes and they've usually been fairly long breaks in between, but I want to try and get back to a semi-regular schedule. Now, several years ago, I had another knitting podcast, and I was at a very different place in my life, and I've deleted all of that channel. I think I had gotten up to 80 or 90 episodes or something. Maybe not quite that high, but I deleted all of those videos off of YouTube. I don't know, it was a very, very rough period of my life, and I just didn't want that content still up and on the internet. I'm sure there's probably still ways to find it, but whatever. Anyway, It's been a while since I've done a regular podcast. Now, when I did it before, I was trying to do it every single week, which meant that I was trying to make a bunch of stuff to have content for a podcast episode every week, and it was just, with everything else that was going on in my life at that time, it was a burden, honestly. And so I've thought about it, and I've been thinking about it this whole week, and this is why I'm sat down here filming this, because I've just felt that itch to knit and make things and make videos again. So I'm really excited about it. What I am thinking about doing forward from here is to do a knitting, sewing sort of a podcast episode every 2 weeks. I think that's what I'm going to aim for. I'm going to try that for the next bit and give myself a little bit of a deadline, because I do tend to work better if I have some sort of a deadline. But I'm trying to be really realistic about it. But with this new part-time work schedule and whatnot, I think I should be able to do this. And there's so many things that I've been wanting and needing to make that I'm sure I'll have plenty of content for a regular podcast. Wait, here, I actually wrote up show notes for the first time in a long time. But yeah, I've just kind of been, let me see here. Some of the things I've been missing is just kind of the community and feeling like I've kind of got a place. I don't really have any real life knitting friends at all. And so I've been kind of missing that feeling of being a part of a community of similar like-minded people that all enjoy some of the same things you do. And I've been really missing the simplicity of the original way of making the videos and making the podcast episodes. I think I've kind of gotten caught up a little bit in the feeling that I need to make these beautiful professional level videos for my YouTube channel, and it's just kind of stressed me out getting to that perfectionist level of things. And so I'm going to go back to that kind of original format of doing podcasts. Like I said, one episode every couple of weeks, and then on the occasion that I have enough stuff, I might do another extra podcast episode on that week in between. And then I'm going to be following the usual, I guess you could say, traditional, typical knitting podcast episode format. I'll have a little bit of an intro, and then I will do FOs or finished objects, and then I will do the WIPs or works in progress, and then I will have a sewing section where I'll just kind of talk a little bit about what sewing projects I'm working on at the time, and then I will have an acquisitions or new, I guess, patterns, yarn, fabric, craft supplies section sort of a thing. And then I actually would like to have 2 new sort of segments. One, I would like to have a little feature segment every week where I talk about either a podcast, a knitting pattern design, sewing pattern design, yarn, something craft related that I'm really loving. I would like to do that. And then I would also like to include one of my other passionate loves in life of a hobby, which is reading. I would like to have a book recommendation segment where I'll just talk about one book that either I've read recently or it's an old favorite or something, just a book. And there won't be much of a rhyme or reason to that. It might be a nonfiction book, it might be a fiction book. I read mostly fiction unless it's a craft book, so. And then some sort of a life date, and then outro into the podcast. That's kind of what I am looking at doing going forward. Yeah, it's been really, really nice this week. I've watched several episodes by Rebecca of the Bear Podcast. I love her podcast so much. She just started doing it, and I don't know. I watched the first one and I was like, this is amazing. I absolutely love this. I love listening to her talk about her projects, and the things she knits are just beautiful, and she just seems like a very lovely person. I kind of fell in love with her a little bit right off the bat, so I'll have her podcast listed below. And then Laura of the Knitting Pickle, which I have seen her podcast episodes, and I feel like at one point I started watching one, but I just never finished it and just kind of was too preoccupied. But this week, I actually stopped and watched her podcast, and oh my goodness, she is so bubbly and light and happy and entertaining, and she has these random little tangents that she goes off onto and these little stories that she'll talk about. And she's in the process of like designing this gorgeous sweater pattern, the Little Sparks My Size pattern, or the pattern's going to be Little Sparks. She's going to have a Little Sparks Mini and the Little Sparks My Size. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am in love with that pattern. I am definitely going to be trying to test knit it. It's been a while since I've test knit anything, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try because I am honestly just in love with it. It is so beautiful. And if I can't, then I am going to buy that pattern like the minute it comes out. And she's also about to release the School Run Fingerless Mitt pattern and the School Run Hat pattern. And they're just such cute basics, and I really, 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 really want to knit them. So I'm really excited for when they come out because I've been needing some fingerless mitts. And then the other one that I watched is an old favorite of mine, and it is Emily of the Blue Mouse Knits. And she used to have a podcast that she did regularly maybe 2-3 years ago, and she hasn't done it for a while. She was kind of taking a bit of a break, and this week she uploaded like a yarn haul sort of podcasty, like not quite episode thing, and oh my goodness, I was like, oh, and I immediately watched the whole thing. It made me so happy. I'm so excited. She's talking about possibly starting up her podcast again, and I am so here for it, like so much so. So those are 3 of the main people that have been just filling my knitting community soul with so much joy this week, and I really recommend all of them. I'll link them down below. But yeah, that's kind of the update. It's almost been 15 minutes here of kind of chit-chatting about that, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to update you on all of it and talk about it a little bit because I'm so looking forward to it. It has made me so excited to just go back to that very simple formula of podcast episodes and to be realistic, do one every couple of weeks and just see how it goes. I kind of dabbled a little bit in making a bunch of book videos, but I think what I'm going to do with those, if you've looked around on my channel, is I'll start just doing like one book video a month talking about different books, because I love reading. Reading is another like very large passion of mine, and I have just been reading so much this summer. But I think it's a little bit harder for me to talk about the books, so I think I'm going to try and just do like one book video a month and see how that works, and just go back to doing a regular podcast episode. And I think that if I do that my YouTube channel will go back to bringing me joy and lightness and happiness, and it'll be less of a chore, if you will. Yes, I'm very excited about all of that. But let's get on to the rest of this podcast episode. I have some fun things to share with you today. Let's get into it. First thing, FOs. I actually only have 2 that I'm going to talk about today. I haven't done much knitting in the past few weeks. It's been kind of busy and stressful and whatnot, and there was vacation, and yeah, it's kind of been all over the place. I did finish a pair of socks, and these are knit out of some of my hand-dyed yarn. Back when I had my knitting podcast, I had a hand-dyed yarn company, and I have a lot of leftover yarns that I'm still working through. And these are 2 of the colorways that I made. This was my Sophie's Flower Shop colorway, which I really, really liked. And then this navy was just, I called it Moonlight Sonata. I think this one was an 80-20 of wool and nylon. And then this one is the navy one is a 75-25 merino, superwash merino nylon. And I just kind of, these are mostly vanilla socks. I decided to do a little bit of extra ribbing here, just for about 10 rows, I think. And then I was trying to, it looks so funny. I was trying to do a section of 1x1 ribbing kind of around the main arch of your foot, and I waited too long to do it, and so it actually ended up being around like the ball of my foot. I should have done it like right back here rather than up here, but it's fine. I don't mind. They were just kind of an experiment, play with socks sort of a thing. I knit this per my usual sock knitting recipe, which is 56 stitches on US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles, and I use double pointed needles pretty much 99% of the time for my socks. And then to the leg, cuff was run by run ribbing, which is quite nice. And then I did a Eye of the Partridge, I think is what it is, heel pop and gusset, and then just regular sock, and then a typical rounded toe, finished off with the Kitchener stitch. So just some very basic socks. I will say I do really like plain, simple, textured sort of socks. Those are kind of my sweet spot when it comes to sock knitting. So there's those. And then the other FO is actually something that I have had done for a really long time. It is a pattern that is being released as an individual pattern. I think it was actually today. And so I just want to kind of feature it on here. It was a pattern that I got to test knit a couple of years ago. It actually ended up that the book that it was published in was delayed by a couple times, I think. I think it came out at the beginning of this year or the beginning of last year. I can't remember for sure. This is, I have no idea how to pronounce it correctly, the Hireth shawl by Claire Walls of Flossy Knits. And this is a chunky shawl, like a chunky shawl. I will say, I have not blocked it yet, so it is not going to be at its full potential. Again, I knit this out of some of my hand-dyed yarn. I dyed it up specifically for this project, and it ended up that when we were doing the test knit, the yardage requirements were a little bit off for the pattern, and so I didn't dye up quite enough, which is why it kind of ended up with this color block effect. But what I didn't realize until I was knitting it is that it worked out really well, because it started off with this color, and this is also a chance for you to see that beautiful, that beautiful lace pattern. It started off this kind of sea green color, and then one of the skeins ended up being a slightly darker, you can see that, oh, other way. You can see that right here, or, oh, come on. That kind of divide when I switched to a new skein is right there. It ended up being a darker color. And then I ran out of yarn, and so I ended up holding this is the same Moonlight Sonata colorway. Holding that, I had it in fingering weight, and then also in a DK. And I ended up holding it double until here, because then this last section, I actually used my tweed base. Because I only had like some partial skeins of this blue, and so I used both of them up, and so it ended up being much more of like a fade / color block shawl, which I don't mind. I really, really want to get this blocked so that it would show off this gorgeous lace pattern. The cool thing about this is it's an asymmetrical triangle shawl, so you, at the beginning, you cast on all of these stitches. All of these. This is folded in half. Like, this thing is huge. I love it so much. And it's, like I said, it's knit in DK weight yarn. So it is like so soft and so squishy. So you cast on all of those stitches, and then you basically decrease every row or every other row all the way down until you get to the end. So as the further you go, the shorter your rows get, instead of being the other way around, which it typically is with shawls. So, like I said, I got to test knit this, and I really loved it. It's a ton of garter stitch, which I love garter stitch. It's one of my favorites. And then it has these very simple lace panels. They're not very complicated at all. And it kind of alternates. So there'll be lace and nothing, and then lace, nothing. And it just goes all the way up. And it is so beautiful, and if it was properly blocked, it would probably grow and be even bigger. I wore the dickens out of this shawl last winter. I wore it so much. I took it to work. It was just basically, I get cold very easily, and so this was basically like just wearing a blanket in public, and I would take it and, honestly, the way that I would end up wearing it, let me see if I can show you, is I would take it and put it over my shoulders, and then I would wrap one side under, and the other side under, and I would take it around and tie it in the back here. And so then it was just kind of like this over my whole body, and I would like double up, and I would put it underneath of my coat, and it was so warm. I loved it so much. And then it's just down in the back here. It was my favorite. It's a little bit warm today because the sun's shining right in the windows, so we're gonna take this back off. But yeah, I wanted to feature this because I haven't talked about it, I don't believe, on my podcast before. And like I said, the pattern is now available individually through Claire's Ravelry pattern store. It was originally in the, I think it's the Lina book, 52 Weeks of Shawls, which is super cool that Claire had a design in there. I think that's awesome. I love Claire. I love her design. She is originally from England, but she's living in Nova Scotia, Canada now, which I love both of those places. I've always thought Canada is very cool, and Nova Scotia was one of those that I thought was pretty cool, and England, love to go there someday. Scotland even more so. I'm talking fast. Whew, and it's the most I've talked all week probably. I haven't been able to talk because of my teeth. But anyway, I like this. I heartily recommend it. It's a very simple, pretty much mindless knit. Once you get used to the pattern repeat, once you do the lace repeat a couple of times, super easy. Like I said, there's a ton of garter stitch. It's a great pattern. But what I was saying was, I love Claire's patterns so much. She's one of my all-time favorite knitting pattern designers. I've actually test knit several patterns for her. Whenever she releases a new test knit, I'm always like, me? Please? And it's such fun. She has such beautiful patterns. I've ended up getting rid of several of the finished products of the patterns that I've made from her patterns, because they were kind of associated with some not great memories for me. But I want to re-knit like all of them because I genuinely just have loved every single one. So, and there's actually one of her patterns that I'm making right now that I'll show you in a minute. But yeah, so it's available there. The other reason why I wanted to mention it is because there's a discount on it. I think it's a 20% off discount right now, since it's just been released as an individual pattern. So yeah, I think it was supposed to go for like a week until like November 4th. It's October 31st today or something. I don't remember exactly, but I'm going to try and get this podcast up probably by tomorrow. I will link the pattern down below and you should definitely go check it out. That is all that I have for finished objects. So let's talk about some WIPs, or works in progress. I have two works in progress that I'm going to show you today. The first one is a sock. And I believe I had showed this on the last podcast episode, and I had a different sock pattern cast on, but I frogged it and I wanted to use the yarn for a different one. So I am knitting the Yorkville socks, which is a pattern by Mina Phillips of the Knitting Expat podcast. I'm pretty sure it's Yorkville. And it's in this self-striping, self-patterning, self-striping yarn by Lion brand. It's the Hands and Feet, which was only available for a really short period of time, I think. It showed up at my local Joann's one day for, I think it was like $5 for a 50-gram ball, which is pretty good. And then it was like discontinued. And so I got them for cheaper than that, I think. And I just got two of them because I didn't think about it. I don't think I realized that they were discontinued. I was like, ooh, cool, sock yarn. And it's like a 75-25 wool polymid blend, I think. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just a basic fingering weight sock yarn. I'm kind of sad they discontinued it because it was really nice to have another option other than Patton's Croy. Because Patton's Croy is a very thick and kind of chunky yarn. And so it's a little different to use it for socks. The measurements are a little bit different, and so I like a typical fingering weight yarn. But yeah, I think it got discontinued very quickly, which is sad. But yeah, so far I'm loving it. I've got the cuff. I've just finished the heel, which is heel flap and gusset. I have the partridge heel, and then I'm working on the gusset decreases. I have the first one. I haven't touched this one in a while, honestly. Again, I haven't been able to do much of anything this week in particular, and it's been kind of busy, so, but I've gotten that far, and I'll probably be able to finish this one soon here if my other work in progress does not distract me too much. And let's be honest here, I am super excited about this other project. Oh, and again, 56 stitches, US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needles, double pointed needle. I think by this point, if you've watched my previous episodes, you kind of know the drill. That's what I do for all my socks. So, this one is very, very exciting because I just this morning, well, not this morning, it was earlier today, cast off the second sleeve for my Guile or Gil sweater. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, which is a gorgeous pattern design of Claire Walls of Flossy Knits. And also, I don't remember if I mentioned it earlier, she has a podcast, a YouTube podcast, which I love so much. And there's actually an episode that she released today that I want to go and watch as soon as I'm done with this. I'll link it down below. I have wanted to knit this pattern for ages. This is one that I bought for myself. Oh, I am in love. She released it and I wasn't able to test knit it because I think I was either test knitting something else at the time or I was busy. I just wasn't able to. It is this gorgeous sweater that is all over textured with Irish moss stitch, and then it has this beautiful cable down the front. And I decided to try something different with my sweater, and this is the first time I've done this, and I decided to knit both sleeves before I finished the body. So I literally, just like maybe an hour ago, cast off and used the tubular bind off on the second sleeve. That's the first one. This is the second one. And which gives it such a nice clean edging. Look at that. That's beautiful. And reattached my needles to the body, and I am so excited to work on this some more because now that the sleeves are done, that's the hard part. I just have to do the body and then it'll be done. And this is a DK weight yarn, some of my own hand-dyed yarn. I dyed it specifically for this project because I wanted like a good mossy forest green, because this just kind of makes me think of Ireland. And I think part of it is Irish moss stitch, and it just makes me think like Celtic sort of a thing, so I wanted like a good green. And I think, not to pat myself on the back or anything, I think I did a great job with this colorway. It was one of those where if you've dabbled at all in yarn dyeing, you know that this doesn't always happen. But this was one of those where the colorway turned out exactly the way that I wanted it to. So I am super, super happy about it. I am so excited to finally have that second sleeve finished. I'd finished the first one and then got the second one started, and then it kind of languished for a while and just sat there. And then last night, I think I did like this last section and started the ribbing, and then earlier today I just finished the ribbing off and bound off the sleeve, and oh, I'm so excited. So, hopefully very, very soon, this will be a finished object, and it is going to be beautiful. I absolutely love these sleeves. They're like a very, I don't know that I've ever really made a knitted garment. Sorry, the ends are, I haven't cut the ends off yet because I haven't blocked it. That I've ever made a super loose baggy sleeve. I love how this fits. Like, so much. It's such a nice, like, snug fit. Oh. And I know it's probably gonna grow some because this is a superwash yarn. It's probably gonna grow some when I block it, but like I'm okay with that. If it loosens up a little bit, like that's fine. I just realized I think on this sleeve I messed up a row in the moss stitch because it looks like it's not, it looks like it's out of sync. That's okay. I don't mind. It's not noticeable enough that I think it would bother me. Yeah, I think I just got off on one row because I see like the purl bumps are kind of prominent. But that's okay. And then once I block it again, it'll be fine. But yeah, I'm loving this project so much. It was something that I waited a really long time to cast on because I was working on other stuff, and then as soon as I did, I was just like, oh, I'm so happy. So yeah, I'll just have to knit the rest of the body, and then I'll have to, I assume, I haven't looked at the pattern yet, pick up and knit the neckband, and I'll probably do a fold over neckband because those just look so good. And then I will have a finished sweater. And I'm not probably going to make it super long. I don't wear like trousers. I wear dresses and skirts 99% of the time. And so for my sweaters, I don't like them to be too long because then it kind of cuts off all waist definition and I look kind of like a box. So I like them to be kind of cropped about my waist length. And then I could wear it over top of like, say, this dress. And then, let me show you. If it comes down to about like here, that would be perfect. So, okay, I'm gonna quit blathering on about this one. That's actually all the works in progress I have right now to show you. I think I might cast on another sweater. I'm very tempted. I'm also torn because I kind of want to finish this one, but I really want to make another one. There's several patterns that I've been really wanting to make. I just haven't yet, so. Okay, really quick sewing section. So for the sewing section, last time I spoke about how I was wanting to make Simplicity 3673, which is a beautiful jumper, vintagey jumper pattern. I'm making this version. And I was gonna make it out of this pretty neutral gray felt. I, as you can see, have not cut it out yet. I did get the pattern traced off and I made the necessary, hopefully all of the necessary adjustments. I am a full busted gal and I always have to make full bust adjustments to the sewing patterns. Such a pain, but it's worth it because you get the right fit. I think the only ones that I haven't really had to do that too much is the Jennifer Lauren handmade patterns, and that's because she provides different cup sizes for her patterns, which is super great. She's a great pattern designer. I highly recommend her. This dress that I'm wearing is the Felicity dress by Jennifer Lauren Handmade. One of my favorite dresses that I've ever made. It is such a nice dress. Anyway, that's a tangent. So I haven't actually cut it out and started it, but I have gotten the pattern prepped. And then basically we bought a ton of, I have a large family. I'm one of 10 children. And so I have a lot of people that I am buying gifts for, and like my parents, and then Micah's got several siblings. And so I really wanted to get ahead of the gift giving season this year and just get all of it out of the way as quickly as possible. Don't get me wrong. I love giving gifts, but I love giving good gifts. And so I tend to kind of stress about them because I want them to be good and I want them to be appreciated gifts, like practical but like nice, because all of the people that we're buying for, they're not really children anymore. My youngest sister is about 11, so it's a lot easier because you can buy them practical things, but as you get older you really appreciate the practical things. So we've been trying to get all of that out of the way, but goodness gracious. And the other part is there's several birthdays coming up. Micah's birthday is coming up. It's like right before Thanksgiving. Rude. And then I have 2 siblings and 1 sibling-in-law in December. Come on, guys. So not only do I have Christmas, I also have all of these birthdays that I'm planning for. So basically there's been an explosion of presents all over like my sewing area. And so I need to get those all like packed up and put into a box, which I'm planning to do today, so that I can actually use my sewing area. But also, and I'm playing with my fountain pen, I should not do that. I've just been not feeling the sewing urge either, so it's kind of a double contributor, and then wisdom teeth and everything else. So yeah, but the hardest part is done. I just need to cut out the actual pattern, which is probably the next hardest part. They're not hard, they're just degrees of unpleasantness. I don't really care for making pattern adjustments, but I have to do it to pretty much every single pattern I sew. And I dislike cutting out the pattern from the fabric, like, do not like that part. So once I get that out of the way, then I can just sew it, and it'll be good to go. But, yes, that is all that I have to say as far as sewing. So let's talk about some acquisitions. I have some fun stuff to show you today. Okay. It's been a while since I have bought yarn. As I mentioned before, well, I've bought a little bits of yarn here and there for like specific projects, but it's been a while since I bought like a lot of yarn. And that's because, as I mentioned before when I was talking about these socks, I have a lot of my hand-dyed yarn left, and I'm trying to use that up. And I've gotten rid of a ton of it, and I still have a lot left. Gosh. And then not only that, I also have a ton, like, we're talking probably like 80 skeins of like bare yarn, like nothing on it. And I still have all my dye stuff. So it's really nice because it's a quite economical way that I can dye like whole sweaters quantities of yarn from yarn that I already have. It's basically free yarn. I've already paid for it a long time ago. So I just don't buy yarn super duper often. Having too much of a stash just stresses me out. But I bought some yarn from lovecrafts.com, and then I also got some from Joann's because I have some specific gift ideas in mind. So we're going to talk about this one first. I got 4 skeins of the Lion brand Heartland yarn, which is probably one of my favorite acrylic yarns ever. I love it so much. Last year, and I mentioned this on one of my previous podcasts, it's over here. I made this blanket, this throw blanket, just a garter stitch throw blanket out of the Lion brand Heartland in the Sequoia colorway. And it is like the softest, squishiest, like cuddliest, snuggliest yarn, like acrylic yarn that I think I've ever worked with. It is beautiful. And I'm gonna make a sweater for myself out of some of this yarn at some point because I love it. I love it that much. And I think it would be really nice because it's very inexpensive. Well, that's not true. It's about $8 when it's not on sale for 251 yards or 230 meters. And it's a worsted weight yarn, I believe. But when it's on sale, which I was happy about because this is actually for a gift project, it's about half that price. So I'm going to keep an eye out around Black Friday and stuff and see if I can get myself a sweater's quantity of, there's this beautiful gray tweed yarn and it's got multicolored tweed neps in it, and I want a sweater out of that so bad. It makes me think of like that funfetti cake, which is like my favorite cake mix ever. And I see sweaters like that all the time, but they're usually a cream or a white background, which I don't like on me. I like grays. Like gray is like the lightest neutral color that I like to go. And so it's a light gray with colorful pops of color. And I want it. But back to this yarn. This is Olympic, is a colorway or color number 109. And it's this beautiful kind of almost like heathery looking, it's like 2 or 3 different colors, like a blue, a light blue, and then like a purpley royal blue. And I got this because I'm going to make Micah's grandmother a shawl. I'm thinking just a very basic like garter stitch over your shoulders type of a shawl. And I wasn't sure how much I would need, if I would only need like 2 skeins, 3 skeins, so I went ahead and got 4. And I got it from Joann. And I'm really looking forward to this because it's going to be a very super simple, easy project. I haven't 100% decided on the pattern I'm going to use yet, but I want it to be like a 99% garter stitch sort of a project. It's very simple. I'm still trying to decide if I want to make an actual shawl or if I want to make it like a rectangle, like wrap sort of a thing. But Micah's grandma is 92 years old and she gets cold a lot, and so I think this would be a really nice sweet gift to give to her. It's super soft, and like I said, it's an acrylic yarn, so it's machine washable and dryable. Yeah, 100% acrylic, and I think that she would really like it. So That's what I got this for. And like I said, I got 4 balls of it. I'm probably going to cast this on pretty soon here. I just need to finish thinking about what I want to make. But that was that. And then we'll talk about the rest of the gift yarn. Make sure Micah's not listening. Fuzz. So, at Love Crafts, I got some different yarn for making Micah some gifts. So I got these. These are 50-gram skein. Fuzz. These are Cloudborne Fibers Highland Superwash Sock Twist. And I think I'm going to love knitting with this. Like, it just looks like such a good yarn to knit with. This is in the color 11010. I think I read online it's just like, yeah, it's just navy. That's what it says. Okay. And this is a 80% superwash fine Highland wool, 20% polymid. And I got 2 50-gram skeins of it because I'm not sure exactly yet what type of socks I'm going to make from it. Can't remember if I mentioned that, making socks. I might make 2 pairs of shorty socks because that's mainly what Micah wears, or because I got it in this brown colorway as well, which is Espresso Heather, which is just, it's just such a good chocolatey brown. I love it. So I might make him 1 longer pair of socks and then use the other color to make 2 pairs of shorty socks or like ankle socks. Haven't completely decided yet, so there's those. And then, which I've never used Cloudborne Fibers, and now I think that this would make a gorgeous sweater. And it wasn't very expensive either. It was like $5 or $6. And then the reason I got stuff off of Lovecraft is I think for your first order they give you like a 15% discount or something. I was like, cool. And I bought enough to get the free shipping because the shipping was like $10, and I was like, goodness gracious, no thank you. And then I got this Millamia Naturally Soft Sock. It's 75% wool, 25% polymid, and this has 218 3/4 yards, or 200 meters. How much is in this one? And these have 178 yards. So this is a good bit thicker. This is a very, very thin like sock yarn. So I'm thinking either I will, now again, like I mentioned, Micah has a birthday and a Christmas coming up, so I've made him socks before, and I'm planning to make him some special socks with these, which I'll talk about in a second. But it is a really, really like thin, I don't know if you can see that at all. It's a quite thin yarn. It's a lot thinner than I was expecting. So either I will go down a needle size and try out a US size 0 needle, or I might see about holding it double. I'm not sure yet. I've got to play around with it and maybe do some swatches and figure that out. But so this one is 75% wool, 25% polymid, typical sock yarn. I do love their little label. It makes me think of like a Fair Isle sweater. And then I got some, oh, does it say what color it is? Gunpowder. It's called Gunpowder. And then I got it in Falu Red, which is the same thing. And it's coming up a lot redder on the camera than it is in real life. It's got more like purple tones in it than the bright orangey red that it's showing up. So it's a little bit more muted. One of Micah's favorite things is Doda. He loves Doda. And actually, I'm gonna... So right after we started dating, I decided as his Christmas present, I was gonna make him some Doda socks, which I did. And I knit these out of Patton's Croy sock yarn, and then just had some... I could not find red Patton's Croy yarn anywhere, which actually it worked out because Patton's Croy is thick. So I found this really thin red yarn from Michael's, which I think was just an acrylic lace weight, and I duplicate stitched the Doda symbol over top of the sock and just made him socks. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is, for one of these, gray, navy, or brown, I'm either gonna make 1 or 2 more Doda socks because he likes it. He's a nerd. What can I say? We're all nerdy in our own way. And so that was why I got the red. And I'm really glad that I was able to get a proper like wool nylon. Red, because I haven't been able to find one. So, or not locally find one. You can find them online, but that's the plan for all of that stuff, which I need to put back in here so I can hide it so he can't see. Yeah. But I'm actually really excited about this Cloudborne fiber because, guys, it's really nice. Like, and it's kind of a, like I said, it's a little bit thicker than the Millamia. So I'm excited. But let's put these back away. And then we're going to talk about the stuff that I got for me to make up the rest of the order so I could get free shipping. I'm so excited about this stuff. So, I got myself 3 balls of sock yarn because I like making socks. So the first one is a Regia 4-ply in the... Does it not say what color it is? I don't know. A lot of this is in another language. I don't think it says what color it is. It's on Lovecrafts. But look at this. Look at this. There we go. Focus on that color. Thank you. Is that not beautiful? I love it. It's like a black with like these jewel tones, and I love jewel tones. Jewel tones are my colors. Like, I've tried the whole pastel thing or bright light colors. Nah, doesn't work for me. Jewel tones is what does it. So I saw this and I was like, so cheeky little purchase for me. I think it is beautiful, and it is going to make a gorgeous, gorgeous pair of socks. Probably just something vanilla or lightly textured. I was thinking about Hermione's Everyday Socks. I love that sock pattern. It is basically a vanilla sock, but with a little bit of interest. And then I got some yarn that I've been wanting to try for so long. I heard about it on a podcast, and I've just been wanting it. You can't get it in the States anywhere because it's a British yarn, and it's a little expensive for me, but I really wanted it. So I got West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply yarn, which is a 75% wool, 25% nylon, and I got it in the Robin colorway. And these are self-patterning, or at least this one is, and I'm so excited about this. It's made in Yorkshire, England. It just makes me so happy. And then I got the Passion Fruit Cooler, and I think this is a self-striping. And again, like, just look at those colors. Oh, it's so pretty. Reared, sheared, and spun in Britain. I'm really excited about it. If you can't tell. I've wanted this for so long. Like, I can't hardly believe, like, I'm holding this in my hands and it's mine and I get to make socks out of this. Like, what magicalness is that? Yeah. I'm so happy. I wanted to get more, but they're about $12 a ball, which is a little expensive for me. Like, when I think about it, it's not that bad, but I have a harder time justifying spending that much on yarn for me. So it was a little treat for me. It was about $12.50 a ball, I think, and I almost got some of their solid colors too, because man, this would probably be amazing to knit a sweater out of. It's a little bit scratchy, but it's not bad. Like, I could probably wear this. So maybe someday I will splurge and buy enough to make a sweater, because these are 100-gram balls, I think. 100-gram balls, 400 meters, 437 yards. So it's a decent amount of yarn. I love it so much. I gotta put it down, but I don't want to because it's my favorite. So yes, this is my first West Yorkshire Spinners, and I really want to really want to knit with it. So one of these 3 I will probably cast on as like my basic vanilla socks, because I've got those patterned Yorkville socks, but I need a vanilla sock. So that is all the yarn that I bought. I'm really excited about it. If I haven't said that I'm excited about it enough, I'm excited about it. I think that is about all. I have blathered on, and it has been so much fun. I have really enjoyed this. We're gonna have to do this more. Yeah. we're going to kind of skip the feature and book recommendation and life update sections because I pretty much already did that all at the beginning. Do go check out the Knitting Pickle podcast, the Blue Mouse Knits YouTube channel, Claire of Flossy Knits podcast, and Rebecca of the Cray Bear podcast. Oh, I love her so much. Go check out their podcasts, check out their Instagrams. Like, I'm going to have to get back into posting pictures on Instagram because I've kind of neglected it. Because again, I felt so uninspired by Instagram and YouTube for a bit, and I think I figured out the trick. Just keep it simple. Not that complicated. But yeah, so I think that is all that I had to talk about today. I really want to go work on my sweater and watch Claire's podcast episode that she just released and a couple other videos. I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. Thank you for sitting throughout this entire episode of me chitter-chattering on about all of the things that I'm quite excited about, as I have mentioned. I am looking forward to making another podcast episode soon. Hopefully I will have, oh gosh, I don't know how I'm going to decide between these. One of them. I will have one of them cast on and working on it. I feel like maybe I'll save this one for December because it's Robin and it's kind of Christmassy. That's what I'll do. I'll save this one for December. And I think it's going to be this one. I like this one so much. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again. It's beautiful. I hope that you enjoyed the podcast, and if you did, leave a comment. Let me know what you're working on. I would love to hear about it. Let's be buddies on Instagram. I need to post some more pictures over there and get back into that because I've missed it. I've realized since I haven't been as active on Instagram, I haven't been taking as many pictures. So yeah, I kind of wanted to get back into that. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope that you all have a wonderful week, a wonderful day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope that you're safe and healthy and happy, and I'm sending you all sorts of positive, happy thoughts. And if you're going through a rough patch right now, I am so sorry. I know what that's like. It's really unpleasant, and that is the understatement of the century. So if that's where you're at right now, I'm sending you loads of love and a virtual hug, and I hope that you feel better soon. And if you were close by, I would give you a cup of tea and a hug, and we would just sit and chat, and I would give you chocolate because chocolate's great. But yeah, so wherever you are, I hope that you are doing well, and yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again in a couple weeks. Bye.